Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring a really fascinating shift in how we think about linguistically diverse classrooms. For a long time, diverse home languages were seen as these barriers that we somehow had to overcome. But as the sources reveal, we can completely flip the script. We're going to unpack exactly how to turn those languages into powerful active learning tools. Let's get into it. Let's kick things off with a pretty provocative question straight from our sources, one that challenges a very common assumption. Are the learning materials you use every day culturally neutral by default? Think about it for a second. When you hand out a reading text or a math worksheet, does it speak equally to everyone in the room? Well, the sources strongly suggest it doesn't. Every single choice we make shapes whose cultures and languages are made visible, and sadly, whose are silenced. And that brings us to a massive paradigm shift. Look, we have to move away from the old monoglossic mindset. Treating a student's home language like it's a problem or just a distraction from the real learning. Instead, a totally new framework is emerging. We need to start embracing a student's full linguistic repertoire as a strategic learning toolkit. It's really about utilizing absolutely everything a student already knows to tear down barriers to understanding. So, how do we actually make this shift? The sources outline a specific pedagogical toolkit, and the very first major tool is translanguaging. Now, this isn't just about hastily translating a word here and there. It's a highly deliberate strategy. Imagine letting a student map out a really complex science concept in their native language first. That completely reduces their cognitive overload. And from there, you gradually build that shared academic language together. It's a game changer because it lets learners use their stronger languages for deep thinking and real collaboration. Next up on the toolkit list is scaffolding. Now, you probably know the term, but when we look at it through a multilingual lens, it takes on a whole new meaning. Scaffolding isn't about dumbing down the content so learners don't struggle. Not at all. Instead, it's about providing structural support, both linguistically and cognitively, to keep the intellectual demand high. You keep the rigor, but you enable meaningful participation while their proficiency in the schooling language is still catching up.
And then there's mediation. What's absolutely brilliant about this concept is how it completely repositions the learners. Instead of just sitting there as passive recipients of information, learners become active bridge builders. They use their diverse backgrounds to summarize, paraphrase, and translate for each other. They're literally making meaning accessible to their peers while simultaneously cementing their own comprehension. It's incredible to watch.
Okay, so what does this actually look like in practice? Well, one fantastic, immediate meaning-making move you can try is creating a visual glossary. When students encounter a new academic term, don't just give them a definition. Have them illustrate it, add their home language translation, and then use that as a shared reference tool for the whole class. It turns static vocabulary into this collaborative, living scaffold that links academic concepts directly to your students' lived realities. Another really highly effective strategy detailed in the research is something called explain it to a family member. This is a pure mediation task. Students take academic content, reorganize it, and produce a bilingual explanation tailored for an audience outside the classroom, like an aunt or a grandparent. Because they have to adapt the content for someone else, it forces much deeper cognitive processing than just a simple, surface-level repetition of facts. But here's the crucial takeaway, guys. These strategies only work if we are actively using culturally responsive materials. We literally have to move beyond superficial inclusion, like just dropping diverse-sounding names into a math problem. It requires intentionally reflecting on our own personal biases, actually taking the time to learn our students' linguistic biographies, and integrating genuine multilingual tools, like parallel texts, into the daily routine. When you go to upgrade those materials, building a digital toolkit is an absolute must. We can leverage a massive variety of technology here. We're talking everything from language apps that build vocabulary autonomy to translation support that deepens comprehension, all the way to AI-enhanced tools for rehearsal and feedback. The secret sauce, though? Designing purposeful, critical tasks around these tools so they support true plurilingual meaning-making, rather than just doing the work for the student. To give you a perfect example of digital mediation in action, think about video subtitling. When students subtitle a video, they aren't just doing rigid word-for-word translations, right? They are actively making critical decisions about tone, clarity, and cultural meaning for a genuine audience. It's an incredibly dynamic way to practice real-world, cross-cultural communication. Ultimately, all of these strategies really circle back to one incredibly powerful insight from the research. As Gay noted back in 2018, Good intentions and awareness are not enough. Just caring about equity won't prevent academic inequities. We need professional knowledge, intentional design, and a genuine willingness to truly value and operationalize the linguistic resources our students bring to the table. We've covered a ton of ground in this explainer, from translanguaging and scaffolding to visual glossaries and digital mediation tools. So I want to leave you with this final practical challenge. What is one small, culturally responsive meaning-making move you can implement in your own classroom next week? Think about it, plan it out, and take that step. Your students will thank you for it.